So this was really just the business kind of disruption was so massive, and then it led into COVID.
I think so.
And
Yeah.
then, so you just found yourself in like you were depressed, right? Is that?
I was hurt and depressed because the thing about it was,
wow. Folks, listen, because let me say something. Because money mindset and how we view money, it's either scarcity or it's an abundant mindset.
We talked about
it's not the same. It can't be the same. It's one or the other. And when we're feeling that account's low and things didn't work out the way we thought it was going to work out, all of a sudden we had a blueprint, but our life condition is here. Yeah. And if you're not right from within, it creates a level of depression, which is why you got to ask yourself a different question. And I wasn't aware of how deep that hole was for you during COVID.
It crushed me. I felt myself, when you go down the traditional medical path, and when you're Dr. O'Connor and not Doc and not John, I had so many docs reaching out and they're giving you traditional pathways, the Xanax, this and that. And I literally one morning woke up and just dumped everything in the toilet. And I was like, this sucks. Hey guys, welcome back to Tough Love with Dr. John O'Connor. Today's guest, Rob Gill, is a longtime friend and absolute success story. Rob has been not only a mentor and a good friend to me, but just an absolute wonderful person in the community with regards to his financial business, the background of him as a family man, his personal story, and the journey he's on right now. So proud to be called my friend. And with regards to what he's doing in the AAU basketball space, it is absolutely, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just shifting the market, right? He is nationally recognized, driving this epic elite, and we are so excited to talk to him. Rob, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, John?
What's going on?
I'm super excited to be on this show, sharing the stage and the microphone with you, and just excited to see where it takes us.
Awesome. So, Rob, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you today about is one of our recent stories was, and it brings me to how we started Rituals and Routines. And you had reached out to somebody on social media or somebody.
No, they reached out to me.
Oh, got it.
Like without me asking.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was funny knowing you, and I know how intense you are.
Yeah.
For you to reach out and be like, he literally was a yo doc, and I think he blasted a little bit.
Yeah.
And me being in the training space for 20 plus years in the healthcare space, I had never taken on an adult before. And
I'm not an adult, so I don't know who you're talking about.
I hear you. I think I get that. I think I put myself in the same category. But nonetheless, it was amazing to have the opportunity to work with you and kind of work on that body transformation that we did then. And tell the audience a little bit about what that was and what happened.
Well, I think there's a couple of different important points, because I think in any business owner that's out there right now, you're in the place of influence, right? You want to bring on more business. So if you want to bring on more business, you have to understand how to communicate with people. And you certainly don't want to insult somebody if you want business from them. And if anyone is a trainer or anybody out there, if you think you're going to get business by insulting people, it ain't going to work. So dude reached out to me privately. I think it was on Instagram. And listen, I'm a big guy. Like, I like my cupcakes and I like my, candy and my Twix and my ice cream cake, the whole 9 yards. So I got up to like 284. And this guy was like telling me that my videos are good, but he started like talking some nonsense. So I won't say what he said. So I was like, you know what, F this. So I reached, because I've always known John, tremendous to me and my family, all of our different injuries. And I said, John, can we customize a plan? And the money that this guy was going to charge me, which was a beautiful figure, right? I just said, here, take it, John. And whoever the guy is, if you ever watch this video, you should thank him. I don't even know his name, but because the ripple of all that, and this wasn't his intention. Like, he lost access to what I could bring to him just 100%. By the way he acted. But John created an unbelievable plan. I went from 284 to 248. It wasn't, and I'm not saying anything is bad, but it wasn't a fasting diet. It wasn't any of these other things that are out there. It was just working out and eating a little bit better. I was so excited with my success that I decided to put it on pause a little bit. And I'm back up to like 258 right now, just radical honesty. And I was even more excited that I decided to go run sprints. Haven't ran a sprint in 15 years. And I hurt my knee within 6 seconds, so I had to go back to John anyway, and I was with him today.
So thank you on that. So one of the things about that is when we talk about people jumping into routines, and a lot of times it's usually being shamed, right? And that's sports, that's life, that's business. And I felt that. And, so many times, in patient care space, it comes down to people saying the doctor didn't listen to them. In the training or coaching space, it's, the coach dismissed me, said I'm not going to play, said I'm not going to get on the court.
Yep.
And I've always thought about that. Like, I was listening to the Sean Casey podcast, and, he was talking about that, Michael Jordan wasn't seen as a great player in high school, and Sean Casey didn't have a single scholarship. And these were guys that just had a focus and could be arguably two of the best in their craft. And, the one thing that I saw with Rob when we started that was I was blown away by how dedicated you are. Like every morning between like 6 and 7, I get a picture of your feet and the number, and I would laugh and chuckle. I'm like,
I was into it.
But
you were, in fairness, you and Alexa were like terrorists in all good ways, though.
Yes,
not bad ways. Really, there was a team around me. Seriously,
yes, that support group,
and it was love. It was intentionality, right? There was specific instructions, and it's that's the ritual, that's the habit. But that's also momentum.
100%.
And if you break momentum, what happens is you hurt your knee when you try and run a sprint. And
100%.
And there's no excuse that I travel for business all the time, right? But that's what happens. The erosionary stuff starts creeping in. That is okay. I did have to go to business, but I also didn't time block. You know
what? It's funny. That brings me into the segue. Why we launched this podcast was when I first got injured, I was blown away. And I've had my share of injuries. I was paralyzed.
Yeah.
I fractured my skull, my knee, my stomach surgery. And I have to tell you that not having that regular dose of exercise blew me away. So when I was, when you started AAU, I said, I'm curious to see how upset you get from not being in your ritual routines with the exercise. And it was nice you touched on it early on. So kudos to you. You're like, yeah, I'm ready to get back. I don't know about going out and trying to run the Carl Johnson or Ben Johnson 50-yard sprint.
I think I've decided no matter what weight I ever get to, I'm never going to run a sprint again for the rest of my life.
It's got to be a bear chasing you.
No interest, so it's not worth it for me at this point.
The only relevance if you're out by Randy's because it looks like that's a little rural out there.
But even then, I still don't even want to run. I'm just real. I'll walk fast or do the pre-core, right?
So,
I like the pre-core. So, but I want to touch on this because I think if we're entrepreneurs, right,
Yes.
and a lot of my audience, like yours, is entrepreneurial, sales and influence and marketing are the tripartite division of what I call success, right? Sales, marketing, that has to speak hand in hand, right hand with the left hand, but influence with integrity. And dude, like I'll go back to that guy. Like I forgive him. I'm not even mad at him. But I think about all the people that he must have insulted away from him. He may have been fooled and thinking it works because somebody might have said yes. And that's what really tied me to John, because part of our training here is we speak level 5 listening, level 5 communication. Yeah. And I've seen, just from me, and you got your whole crew here, like it's amazing. I've seen your social media growth, which to me has been incredible. I look at what Parker and Danny did to the fort. Like
Absolutely.
Just what they did to the fort. Like that place is a different place because of the power of social media, right?
They're fantastic.
So I see you doing it right now, and it's awesome.
I appreciate that.
To hear that you and Matt are able to get connections organically, by the way.
Yes.
Because you don't have to pay for it if you have the right algorithms and your right message and you're being the brand itself, which is what you are.
I adapt to that because I have to tell you, that was all you.
Yeah.
You would freeze me up and literally, and I said it on my earlier podcast where you're like, hey man, level 5, you're not hearing me.
Yeah.
And I was, looking at my social media, and I was thankful to have my son's friend Sean jump in. This kid, I got a great line out of a professional basketball trainer that is elite national, Gannon Baker. And he was talking about the age of an athlete versus the athletic age, meaning how good they are regardless of age. Like LeBron at 18 might've been better than a 27-year-old NBA player. And, Sean's got an amazing ability, and when he grabbed onto our stuff, I was getting contacted from friends and family and people all over the country saying, hey, the new content's fire.
Yeah.
And I know that you kept saying, hey, it's stale. You have way more in the tank than that. I'm not seeing it. You need to bring that energy.
Yeah.
You need to bring Doc and not be, kind of complacent. You need to go.
Yeah, yeah.
And when
the people watching it need you to do that.
Yes.
Because when you're like, hey, it's Sean, that's not you.
Exactly.
So, but when people know who you are, that's why you're so successful in your business, because people know who you are locally.
Yes.
So you got to be able to tell.
You got to get out there to the audience.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing. And, getting outside of my comfort zone with that was when I got on the camera, I thought I needed to be more subdued and more composed. And what I realized, like even today when you said, hey, be you.
Yeah.
And I had said that. I was thinking back when I was like 25, 26, when I was finishing up grad school. I said, I want to be me throughout my entire career.
Yep.
I want to roll in a pair of shell tops. I want to be in a pair of sweats and a t-shirt. And, as we're evolving our practice and we're growing on a national level, we're here.
Yeah.
And I love it. I chuckle. I'm like, I'm buying, I'm approaching 50 years old, and I'm saying to myself, my my fitness level now feels fantastic. I'm so much more appreciative of self-care. You know, God knows I preach it to you, and I send you like the daily routines of what to do.
Amazing messaging.
And it has to be that way, because the biggest reality is that I don't care what we talk about. And I always say, you know, hey, Rob Gill, let me ask him financial stuff. Whether it's health or financial, regardless of how well you do, it's amazing. You'll think about a million things when everything's going well. But when you don't have your health, the only thing you think about is regaining that.
You had that right before COVID or during COVID? I forget.
During COVID, I went down.
Yeah, it was bad for you.
It was bad.
It was like, as a guy that was in great Division I shape that you were, let's call it professional shape, all of a sudden your world just changed.
100%. I look back at those pictures, and in dropping that 35 to 45 pounds, and I'm not a big guy. It wasn't like you're talking about being a 300 pounder. You know, I went from 215 pounds to 100 and like high 170s, low 180s. And thankfully with COVID, with having masks on, everybody was bundled up and you were outside walking around, I could kind of hide it and stay at a distance, but I felt it every day. I had to.
And what was going on?
You know what? I mean, full transparency, when I got hurt, you know, I hurt my back and I had a couple other nagging injuries going on, and typical me, like it might've literally been a 7 workout weekend. Right? I had my son going, trying to get him ready. And you know, with your boys, getting them ready for sports, you know, being a hands-on professional trainer, I look at it like this way, like I don't want to show him how to go to war. I want to bring war, let him feel it. And so I was every rep, everything with him. And then I had my workouts.
You need that.
And
that's part of your makeup.
That's part of who I am.
So you lost that during that time.
Oh my God. And that was crippling mentally. And I have to say, you know, they would say ego is a disease. And I didn't realize it until, you know, and I was talking about this in one of my recent podcasts, like I had 91 days of sleepless nights.
Wow.
And I did not sleep a wink. I'd fall asleep somewhere between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd get up and be functional. And it was brutal. And I saw a patient that I have the honor of treating, former military, and he's literally, as he describes it, been blown up multiple times. He served in active duty and has PTSD. And he's like, I haven't slept in 9 years.
Unbelievable.
So literally I gave him a hug. I said, man, I was complaining about 90 days. And he's like, I haven't slept in 9 years. And he's
That's what
begging,
these people need to know.
Yeah. And you know, it's like, he's begging the VA to get medicine and help. And like, they were turning him away. And I'm like, listen, however we can help, we will, you know? And I told him, I was like, listen, if I'm going to donate PEMF to somebody like to help with anxiety and sleep, I'm like, that's the guy.
PEMF ain't easy either.
So, but I have to tell you, that was an amazing journey. And talking about adversity.
How did you get on the other side of that though? I forget, because I don't know that, and I'm just right here just as well, because I'm interested in the other side of that.
You know what?
That led to where you are now.
I had to start digging in deep, and I started reading, and everything from, you know, every book I could get into. I swear, I think I went through the Oprah Winfrey book club. I went through all of Tony Robbins stuff. I went through Eckhart Tolle. I went through.
So you started doing brain food.
Yeah, I needed to read. I needed to journal, and you know what I looked forward to was actually the Ford Athletic Club getting open, and you know, and that was going to be our 3rd location, and it was a long time coming. And I think like there were a lot of failures that came up to that for us.
At the club itself, at the fort itself,
at the club,
or just in general.
You know what? It was leading into COVID. Yeah. We had a lawsuit with the new facility. We dumped in a huge amount of cash. We were just grinding and burning, and we were on fire, like to go. And we were literally saying, we're going to go from in the Power 5, that we're going to be number 1 in Monmouth County. Yeah. And, you know, it was almost like in training when I was on fire from like 2000 to 2010, I knew I would encourage any trainer, you want to go? Yeah. Get on the court when I'm there, and I'll show you what it's like there. Yeah. And I just never thought there was a global pandemic to punch you in the mouth that hard. And, you know, then there was staff, there was internal. I know I've watched your company grow and blossom. You always told me, hey, you're only as strong as your team. Yeah. I didn't have the best team. Yeah. And it's not a reflection of them, it was a reflection of me. Yeah. I didn't manage them well. Yeah. And when I got into Jocko Willink and all these leadership books, I realized that I was like, I'm not leading from the front. I'm working hard.
You're in the business, not on the business.
Yeah. And I had to detach from that. And it was, you know, it was just so much that it broke me.
But let me ask you this, because I'm learning this again. Yeah. So was it, I know you had the knee injury, right? But that was already, you worked through that.
That was I got through that, yeah.
So this was really just the business kind of disruption was so massive, and then it led into COVID. I think so. And then, so you just found yourself in, like, you were depressed, right? Is that?
I was hurt and depressed because the thing about it was, you know.
And folks, listen, because let me say something, because money mindset and how we view money, it's either scarcity or it's an abundant mindset. We talked about it's not the same. It can't be the same. It's one or the other. And when we're feeling that account's low and things didn't work out the way we thought it was going to work out, all of a sudden we had a blueprint, but our life condition is here. And if you're not right from within, it creates a level of depression, which is why I got to ask yourself a different question. And I wasn't aware of how deep that hole was for you during COVID.
It crushed me. I felt myself, when you go down the traditional medical path, and when you're Dr. O'Connor and not Doc and not John, I had so many docs reaching out and they're giving you traditional pathways, the Xanax, this and that. And I literally one morning woke up and just dumped everything in the toilet. And I was like, this sucks. This isn't me.
So you were on medication too?
Tried it. It was try this. And then I woke up and if anything, it was just spiraling. And I was like, look, it can't get worse.
Got it.
So I literally need to draw the line. And probably, I remember a movie, I think it might've been 300, when they were talking about gladiators and warriors. And they knew right away when they drew a line and when the two children would step up to the line, the one that didn't cross the line to fight became an academic. And I have never not been somebody that would step up to that line and I was going to throw down. And I was blown away that I was like, you're better than that. You've never backed down from anything in your life. You need to stand up and fight for everything that you believe in. And that was it. And I get choked up thinking about it because I was about to quit. And, it was just surreal because I was like, this is not me. All the kids that I helped and all the lives I changed, whether it's healthcare or training, I was like, where did I go? Where did the person that got here go?
Where was you? How'd you find them?
You know what? I have to tell you, like when we got into the fort and I guess
the fort did good for me too.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, the fort was kind of a rebirth. And I said this in a previous podcast and it really hits home. As Dr. Trainer, and I've had a national player of the year, I got a bunch of WNBA players, NBA players, NFL players. And I've trained with my players and I'm a hands-on trainer, right? I go with them and I'm beating them up. They're following me in the pool when we're running sprints and they're on the court following me in reps or following me at the gym and following my pace. And I took on a trainer and it was a game changer. And I had to tell you, Evie, as you know, and I tell people all the time, it's like, I've heard Ed Milet talk about it and all these massive podcasters and business entrepreneurial people that are like, you need to get yours around people that are going to build you up and lift you up. So I literally started taking care of myself because what I found that I started looking back at all my years of training and working in the clinic setting. I was like, you know what? I'm not taking care of myself. I work on Riley, I get him loose, and then I go work him out for 2 hours, but I got a sore knee, a sore back, and I'm just powering through it until what happens is no different than a house. You have this beautiful $4 million house, but you don't take care of the yard. You don't take care of the septic. You don't take care of this. So people look at me from the outside and be like, oh, this guy looks great. And then at nighttime, I'm trying to use duct tape and crazy glue and Advil and being sarcastic, trying to put myself back together until it just crashed.
Can I say something? Your radical honesty right now is so incredible that to admit, because that's right, we want to keep up with the Joneses sometimes, right? And to admit that behind the scenes and a lot of people struggle, everybody struggles. So you never know where somebody's coming from at any time you sit down and meet somebody. And to be able to acknowledge that in this forum and to be able to serve and help somebody by sending your message is so powerful. And I would just encourage you to continue to do it.
I appreciate it.
Because whatever that success process was that got you through that, that's the story that's going to help people that need to hear the same thing.
I keep trying to organize it in my head because it definitely was chaos, right? And I was reading so much and in so many different books. And I had to laugh. Of all the presenters, I find Tony Robbins to be the most brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
And because he takes complex and makes it simple.
Yeah.
And because as a basketball trainer, I would always say, when somebody would drill something one time, I'd say, well, I'm going to do it about 1 million. And they look at me, I come, I go, because I want to be so good that I don't make a mistake when I show that drill. I could close my eyes and do that drill. And the kids are like, wow, blindfolded. Yeah. And what I realized was the anxiety or the depression, that was like a bad habit, not using your left hand or going off the wrong foot on a layup that just kept coming knocking on the door.
Yeah.
And the minute your mindset changed, the minute your thought process changed and you went down into that dark spot, it was there.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm waiting for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I need to be consistent. And then what I really started doing, which was even more powerful, is like my team that's here right now knows when I would go in on a brand new patient, I never asked this question before in the first 15,000 patients that I saw is, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Like, how are you? And I was blown away. I know Matt and Christian are with me all the time, that the patient would start hysterical crying within 5 seconds. And they're like, I've been to the neurosurgeon, the this, the that, and they don't ask you that. And thankfully post-COVID, you could touch people again. I'd lean in and give them a hug and say, you know what? And they're looking at you saying, man, you're super fit. You don't get it. And I'd say, when I was a kid, I was paralyzed. In my 30s, I had this. In my 40s, I fractured my skull. I broke my back and I was barely walking. And they're looking at it and they're like, I said, so I understand what it is to, adversity. I joke around and say it's a road. And I said, when it's all done, maybe be adversity / O'Connor Lane. I said, I've been on it my whole life. And at the end of the day, I'm going to pave the way for people to understand that when you go down to an adversity, you can lay down or you can run the way. And I want to drive the path.
Adversity is life's gymnasium, right?
Yeah. So, and that's it. It's like, it was funny. Like my son today, I've been watching he's leaving for school soon. And we were talking about like, what's on your mind right now? One of my guys reached out that was huge. He was with me every time I go for a walk because I got nervous. Like I had a really super religious guy and both they were super religious, but I would go for walks with them during COVID. It was cold as hell and I would laugh. Like both these guys were grizzly bears and I'd be out there bundled because I had no body fat and one would be in shorts and a t-shirt. It'd be like 20 degrees.
It's like me.
And I would laugh my ass off because I would say to them, I'm like, guys, thank you so much. And, and 30 minutes, and how like my fitness level, 30 minutes felt like I was going on like a marathon walk.
Wow.
And I'd be talking to them and I was blown away because we're talking today that was a couple years ago. The kids were a freshman, sophomore, now they're leaving for college. And my son's leaving for IMG and getting ready for that as a baseball player. I've been listening to the Sean Casey podcast with Ed Milet like every day.
Yeah.
And I keep sending it to him. And I'm like, hey, listen to this. And I learned something new every time.
It's amazing.
And the power that he had with his father, that his dad, that his dad would give him the fist pump, his dad would push him. And I was like, Johnny, you know what? I'm always gonna be that dad.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not gonna be the dad that's gonna sugarcoat it. I'm gonna kind of give it to you real. If you're not working hard, I'm gonna call you out.
Yeah.
And I'd always tell people as a dad, I think I'm getting better, give myself a better grade, but I'm hard on myself on that. And I said, it's like, I'm an excellent trainer. I've motivated thousands. I've made so many kids that I had a kid right now that's father's going through it. And I say prayers every day. Had a massive heart attack, knew he was having it. And the boys called me and said, Doc, you've always shot me straight. He's about to launch his own fashion business. And he said, do you mind if you start mentoring me? I said, listen, I never stopped.
Yeah.
And, and I told my son the same thing. I said, I'm never going to stop pushing you for greatness because here's the deal. If you aim for greatness and land a little bit below, I don't think you'll ever be disappointed.
Yeah.
But if you aim for average and then you look back and you miss that time, it is only a small
window.
That window's gone.
Yep.
You'll always regret it because I've met those kids too. And when I see them, that's the first thing they see me when they see me.
I agree.
And I've seen that. And I'm sure you see it in financial where someone missed something with scarcity mindset.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Not only scarcity mindset, because listen, if I say to myself, and I think you may have went through this, but if I say to myself, why does this keep happening to me? My brain, because we ask ourselves questions. We have according to John Assaraf, we have 6,000 thoughts a day. According to Joe Dispenza, we have 60,000. Anywhere in between it, 90% of them are bad thoughts. Or suboptimal thoughts, fight or flight mentality thoughts that go back to the caveman. But here's the point. Whenever I would say to myself, and it's only in times of scarcity, hey, why does this keep happening to me? My Google brain will tell me all the reasons why I suck.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the many things I learned about with Tony, and I'm so excited to be going there again this week, is the questions that we ask ourselves are the stories that lead us to our success or failure.
Sure.
So empowering questions, not why does this happen, but what can I learn from this? How can I improve? And I started tying this into my business. All right, how can we increase with integrity our revenues and our profits month over month with a trajectory that's even higher than the month before?
Got it.
And we wound up going on a run where, we started doing this and I fired my whole team in 2017, 2015. I started 2 new teams along the way. And to your point, it was my leadership that lacked. But as I began to learn and surround myself with people that had and knew things I didn't know,
They
my
inspired
top
you.
5,
They made you better.
Yeah, they held me accountable.
Yeah.
Right. And in that space, all of a sudden we went from negative 400,000 to plus 700, plus 2.2, plus 5.5, and
So
now we're tracking 9 million this year.
And I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
So real quick, just interrupt.
But it's on the business, not in the business.
Now, would you say this is? I heard a great line, and it's in your circle of people. If you're the smartest or the strongest one in the room,
The
you're
room
probably
sucks.
you're in the wrong room, right?
Yeah, the room's going to suffer.
Yeah.
Well, you're in the wrong room, and eventually the room will suffer unless
Yeah.
you leave that room and let them. So you want to look at frequency up here and down here. And if you're in the middle, you have to always be gravitating towards the person's frequency level up here. You got to be careful of them down here because they're going to tell you that you can't do it,
Got it.
even if you love them,
I know.
right? You got to be careful.
Well, I know you mentioned that. Obviously, I follow you as if I tell people all the time you're one of my favorite mentors, and I always cite you on my commentary, anything I post on social media with your family, right? And I think it's our upbringing. We're around the same age. Is the mindset is be thankful. Enough is enough. If you can't afford it, do without mindset versus push past it, grind, go.
Yes.
And I would say with my family, like, I talk about my father often and my parents, like they just had a recent scare with COVID and they were really bad shape. And, it was almost like we were in the middle of it again. And, and I'm blessed to have so many friends in law enforcement that they were on call. They were ready to come get them. And, my dad, I could see in his face, he was like, I get on the other side of this because if I go to the hospital, it's not my pulmonologist. They're going to put me on that iron lung. And you don't realize about that loyalty. I know it wasn't even him thinking about him. It was him leaving my mom.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And what's funny is when I think of, because you mentioned Epic Elite AAU at the top.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But this is here's the Rob Gill, my dilemma. So I started it for two kids.
Got it.
Rob and Riley, my two sons, 16 and 17. And the year before that, I had done an AAU thing because I had gone to the Ukraine and I realized what freedom was.
Sure.
So when I came back home and I couldn't even stand anybody because they were complaining about beach clubs and whatever.
When there's bombs flying over their house.
Yeah. So now I I wasn't going to do it. Billy Gilligan, he fired me up because CBA's JV beat our CBA's JV beat our JV in the championship game and we couldn't break their press. So I was mad at the coaches. Please listen to this. I was mad at the coach of JV, who I felt mailed it in. I won't even say his name. And if you got a problem, you come meet me wherever you want from the street or the suite. It doesn't matter because we do have something to talk about, but I'll leave your name out of it. But here's the thing. You didn't teach the kids how to break a press, right? I got so mad. I'm from North Jersey. We know how to dribble the basketball.
And all due respect,
we know how to dribble the basketball.
And you're in the family of elite basketball in the Hurley family, right?
Yeah, seconds, yeah. So I'm fucking pissed.
Yep.
Right? And Billy's like feeding me, right? But the story, it's the way the story turns out, it's just amazing how God works, at least in my life.
Yeah.
So I start the team for Rob and Riley.
Sure.
Right? And, can you pick this friend? Can you pick this friend? So the whole thing, if you remember, started with this isn't Rumson basketball.
100%.
Because it wasn't Rumson basketball. I'm from the
You
North.
want to make it
I
known.
don't just believe in three-point shooting. I believe in, not to say that Rumson basketball is just three-point shooting, but
that's their approach.
Don't take my word for it. So
a layup or a three.
Yeah. So I said, I want all North Jersey guards.
Got it.
Right? I went to St. Peter's Prep, so I had connections there. I had connections to Hudson Catholic. And then all of a sudden, people started coming. And then I was like, we're a month in, 2 months in, and I'm starting to fund this thing. It was the worst business investment I ever made in my life, but it wasn't about business. It was about my heart. Next thing I know, though, is like these kids just really loved each other, number one.
Yes.
Number two, we created a movement, even to the point where we opened up our own NIL collective.
Awesome.
But number three, you know what I realized I couldn't stand more than anything else, and I gave it to my family? Privilege.
Yes, agreed.
And
I can relate to that with my son.
Is
Absolutely.
the biggest pain that I have right now.
To deal with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not their fault. I wanted them to have what I never had.
Correct.
And I was gravitating towards the kids that didn't have anything.
Absolutely.
And that were coming just that I used to have when I was 16, 17. The difference was, although I was brought up in a system where there was very famous players, I didn't have that direct access. No one was calling to make sure that I was, going to a direct coach or anything like that.
Sure.
So these kids that we have, I wanted to do that for. Fast forward, my older son just not interested in basketball, and that's okay. There's other things he wants to do, and that was something I had to accept. My younger guy, who I didn't want him to stay at RFH.
Yeah.
I'm like, you want to talk about punishing your dad? It's like, not only does he want to stay, but he's staying with conviction now.
Yes.
So now it's like I had to go on social media and back up RFH basketball because I love my son and all those kids that played with me. I genuinely love them. And I just hope that they can learn the game in a way that gives them fulfillment.
But don't you think that's almost like something important in society if we were talking about politics or anything like that? Like the importance is sometimes for the betterment of the society or the group that you literally had to say, regardless of what my opinion is,
it was about Riley.
It was about Riley. It wasn't about you.
Yeah, and
right?
Riley is a beautiful soul.
Yes.
Right? He loves the kids that he's with. Those are all really good kids.
Listen, and
the coach, I'm sure, has great intentions. And, I see things a certain way. I'm that guy. I am that guy, by the way. I'm that guy, just so we're clear. Yeah, 8-figure businesses all over the place, blue collar. I can get into my heroic unique identity in a second. But the point is, what I learned in this process was that privilege could be poisonous.
Agreed.
So how do you overcome privilege? Well, you gotta. I said this on Sean Callagy's stage, because as we've scaled in our business, a lot of my reps right here, they got fat, they got lazy. One guy's kind of a little bit jammed up a little bit. Another guy just lives in a world that's not true, but in his glasses it is.
Yeah.
Because of the money that was coming his way.
Sure.
And it's like, I'm starting to recruit all new team members again, just like I did 2018, because I could see the writing on
People
the wall.
get lazy. Yeah.
And I want to build them up. But here's the thing. What I realized, the only way, Rob Gill, because if you let me coast, I'm going to die.
Yep.
The only way I could survive in life is if I'm addicted to the arduous, not momentum. Arduous. I have to be, because once the momentum comes, you can let that keep playing out over here.
So for the audience, they may not understand. So that's a topic right there that I was sitting there, like me getting complex medical.
Yeah.
What does that mean, arduous?
In business. So
Yeah.
I create ecosystem mergers.
Go with life. Tell the audience, because again, I think that, like, in other words, you saying arduous, meaning you try to take the complex business deals, or
No.
You? Yes.
So in anything that anybody does, it does. You have to go through your I dot and your T crossing process.
Okay.
Right. You have to put the time in. TIME, things I must earn. Whatever it is, I'll make it about if you want to lose weight, if you want to get in shape.
Sure. So you can apply it to anything. So the arduous meaning you can apply. Great. Good.
For me, if I, it's called surviving success, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't stay addicted to the arduous, and now all of a sudden I have success over here, let's call it monetary success.
You start slipping.
I start slipping. And my financial temperature starts saying, wait, I don't deserve this shit.
You sit at 75 instead of 100.
Let me slow it down a little bit and self-destruct. So if I stay in the arduous, I never have the opportunity to fail.
Got it.
Because that's habits and rituals. Now, you're going to say, well, Rob, do that with your fucking diet.
Yeah.
Do that, right?
I was thinking about, but
that's what Alexa would say. Like, so it's like, all right, I get it, because we have top fives in all areas of our life.
I'm going to pull you this. You made a comment about Dr. Dispenza, Joe Dispenza, before, and he has a neat thing in his meditations, and he talks about shift, right? And he usually says, like, something in the morning, something that bothers you, and this and that. And we go into those negative pathways, or we go into those complacent pathways. And then that's where you got to catch yourself. You got to get that feeling and literally shift. And whether that's with our team, how we communicate with our team, how we communicate with our kids, how we communicate with ourselves.
Yeah.
But I really think, and not to bust your chops, but even with that, I always say what I see with a lot of remarkable, successful millionaire, billionaire people is that you shelf self-care.
Yeah.
For staying in those lanes. And that's where I think our relationship, where, like, I have to sit on you to be like, hey, just remember.
Which is great. And I'll say this, I always encourage you to keep doing that. But let me go back to one thing. Let's go back to the rich person staying in their lane.
Sure.
If they're going to stay, here's my point though. If they're going to stay in that lane, and if they're not staying in the arduous, they're going to lose that lane.
Understood.
That's my point.
I agree with that.
Then the health is already lost in the scenario you're talking about. I'm just talking about, like, if they're doing more dinners, drinking more, drugging more, all gambling, all that stuff that goes on with the trappings of success.
Yep.
But even if they don't do that and they're not sticking to the arduous, the thing that got them there, they'll eventually give that up. And that's where depression kicks in.
100%.
That's where fear of failure kicks in. That's where I'm not good enough kicks in. That's where you go home and you're like, your wife might not be thinking you're the G anymore, right? Because now all of a sudden you can't pay that bill.
Yeah.
Right? She's looking at you sideways. And you're like, wait a second, look what I did for the last week. Why are you looking at me sideways?
Yeah.
Look at you. Like, you see what I'm saying? So what happens, and I'm speaking in general terms right now, but the point is we privilege is poison. And we get people used to a certain lifestyle because we love people. I love the people that
want
work
to take care of people.
Because that's who leaders love people.
Yep, absolutely.
But we're not helping them
by doing that.
Yeah,
I agree.
And that's what I learned. This is a recent, like I'm big on this right now.
And I have to tell you, it's funny. I'll go down the same pathway. My son's athletic career he was a late bloomer, right? And I see your boys are starting to fill in. And now you look at my son, he's a man, right?
Yeah,
he's
looks
athletic.
Unbelievable. Great shape.
He's moves well. He swings the bat. I'm super proud of him. He got his first, college letter today. Yeah. And like I said, I was chuckling because I saw, Sean Casey was, a year later than Sean. I said, it wasn't at that level. I said, but Johnny, this is the beginning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reality is,
you're preparing.
When we when we set up what IMG was and people started asking questions, and it's usually the closest people that ask those questions that you, and you look at them, you almost get the, right? You know what I'm talking about? And you're like, did that person just ask me that question? Did that person that's related to me or like I'm friends with?
The most dangerous people you know
Yeah.
are the ones that have proximity to you.
And so,
or uplifting. It's one or the other. It's not in the
so
middle.
what I had said was, what's funny? This isn't an entitlement thing. This is my promise I made to him.
Yeah.
And I said throughout his high school career, when he had failure, growing up in my house, it was tough. And my dad was hard on me. And I liked that part of me. It gave me a lot of success, but it was definitely different than how I coached. And I had some hard old school coaches, and I'm sure you did too, that would just bash you. You'd have 30, like you should have had 40.
Yeah.
And
that I don't think is productive though. Like I'm not going to name names of some coach at my AAU. Like, I'm like, dude, stop yelling at the kids.
Agreed. And I'm not
Don't
that way
yell
either.
no more.
So
replace it with an empowering
correct
comment.
And so when someone asked, like, the IMG thing is a huge investment, I was like, you know what? It's a character definition moment for him. He's going to go there right away. And it's either going to be something that's going to help him understand this is the best move for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Or
you're
yep.
No. I'm going to play with it.
And
I know where I was going.
Yeah. And I said to him, I was like, these people that were saying, I was like, it's funny. They refer to it now as a gap year. When I was paralyzed in high school, and I was getting ideas for the schools to go to. And I think Coach K contributed to schools and this and that. People were making recommendations. I was in awesome AAU circles, and it was different. It was a prep year. It was a PG year.
Yeah.
And for the gap year, for the gap year for my son, I looked at it like I almost wanted to create an acronym. And I think next time I hit a podcast, I will have it, because it was like growth, achievement, and performance.
There you go. And transformational vocabulary.
And I wanted to understand.
Words.
Yeah. And I told him, like, when you get down there, you're on your own for the first time. You're not going to have your car. You have to be reliable. And I just said he's going down the LBI, and it's the first couple of days I've not sitting on him to be at the gym, be on the baseball field, line up your trainer.
And he's doing it.
And he's doing it. And I texted him. I said, "Hey, this is what you have to do." And then it was funny. He was like, "Yep, on it." And then I said, "Hey, IMG just hit us up. This is what we have to go." And literally the next text was, "Hey, I got my first letter today." And I said, it's funny. It's not. So that entitlement is a shift. I'm like, you know what, guys? It's not about that. He didn't get those opportunities. And I have no ill will against coaches. I'm a coach's dad.
Yes.
Right. If I get on you, chances are, I hate to say it, you suck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've mentored so many coaches. I've been in the trenches with them. I've saved jobs. I've helped them win sectionals and state championships. And, but to me, a coach is that mentor. Your job is to build them up, not rip them down. Your job is to believe that if kids,
teach them the fucking game.
And teach them
you better teach them how to come over a screen. You better teach pick and roll. You better teach hard head. I mean,
I agree. Don't bash them without educating them.
Yeah,
if they can't, if they can't reproduce what you're teaching them, that's on them.
Yeah.
If you haven't taught them, that's on you.
Yeah.
And that translates to business, life, relationships. I mean, to me, that was that. But get to your point before you're about to say something.
So I'm going to talk about you and your son right now without having any information, just other than what you gave me. So, because what I heard you say is it's not a privilege thing. What I created was privilege, right? As it stands today. But what I can say is my kids work their asses off, right? So we could hold on to that. The privilege side of it is that they don't have any concerns about money and safety and anything else. So they don't even understand that value. But watch, there's 1.5 million approximately high school basketball players, right? 1,500 get Division I scholarships, 30 make it to the NBA, 24 go bankrupt when they're done. So if you do that math from the time they first picked up the pool to the time they retire, and that pool of 30, that's probably like 40,000 hours, right? And they have nothing to show for it because they go bankrupt, right?
Yeah.
So my whole thing was financial literacy into the AAU program. No one cared about AAU until I started talking about financial literacy.
Yeah.
So we've created a course that includes branding, marketing, and influence. We're filming the curriculum's written, the course is going to be filmed, which we'll be able to put out there. But here's the thing. Your son is going to IMG.
Yep.
There's a dollar investment to that. Whoever says, is it worth it or not, what if your son's worth $100 million 10 years from now? Just like all these basketball players who I'm teaching to be businessmen by the time they're 21 instead of being gym teachers. And I'm not fucking making offense. I'm not picking on a gym teacher, but you get a Division I scholarship, don't become a gym teacher. There's other things you could do with that education.
Use that as a vehicle to level up.
Yeah, because now all of a sudden, if you're in the educational system, which is dead, and if you're in the traditional system, which creates economic soldiers,
and everything,
why not learn how to become an entrepreneur? Because by the way, you know this, any good basketball player is an entrepreneur just because of the real repetition of basketball.
100%.
Entrepreneurs are good at repetition. They fail all the time to eventually succeed. They make all the wrong decisions first to eventually get onto that scale.
Rob, to your point,
that's where I see the magic in the RAU program.
1,000%. And that's the one thing when I'm watching it and I watch these young men come on, and it's impressive. You know, they're speaking about financial, they're thankful, they're showing gratitude. And, you know, that in itself has a value. And listening to some of these amazing coaches, a lot of these coaches stepping down because of NIL, and it's changing because they're becoming a broker of the game because, you know, the coaches were so used to, you know, win, go to the championship, get their guys in. But now this has allowed the collegiate players that the colleges and the coaches are making a huge amount of money. Now these kids are able to make money. But let's be honest, based on your statistics, over 90% of them have an opportunity to make more money in college than they're ever going to make beyond the game.
Yes.
And so why not take advantage of that? Because the schools are.
Anyone that does because we have our own, Epic has its own NIL collective. We don't represent any school. You have to go through our financial literacy course. You have to hit a bunch of IDOTs and T-Cross to get the money, and a portion of it has to be invested.
Love it.
That's what we're doing. So to your point, all these players that would never make it to the NBA can clean up while they're in college and learn the game in a different way. Even in the AAU circuit right now, which is insane to me. Because, by the way, anyone that's watching this that gets money inside of, you know, it's left in the car, the one guy leaves and you go in the car and there's money there, just get it legally through an NIL because that money has bad energy. Even if it's from your handler, it's bad energy if you're getting cash deals. No one in the AAU circuit is doing NIL deals yet. Nobody. I may sign a grammar school kid next week to the first NIL in history, number one point guard in the country. That's happening. That's a real conversation right now because what we want to be able to do is really kind of stand for taking out the crooks, taking out the folks that the bad actors that are inside of AAU, which is all over the place, and create business geniuses. That's what this is about for us.
Well, I think you've learned, obviously, being a novice in the game, but not.
This all started because I wanted 2 teams. Yeah, I didn't know I was going to go on this path.
And you're a Bergen County guy, right? Hudson County. I used to love coming up there and playing basketball or going up to the city to play. I went to Pace, played hoops there. I think that street literacy made you realize when you're out there, and then all of a sudden you guys went up brackets. Yeah. You got to see the term handlers and all these crazy
scoundrels, pimps.
You know, and they're literally brokering bodies and players.
I'm looking around my camera.
And you know, so anyway, I think it's a huge thing. You know, but let's get back to this. One of the things, and you know, this show today, by the way, was absolutely fire. But I think when we talk about the rituals, routines, and all the different things we're getting into, I'm excited to be a part of it. I know you have a big event coming up, and you know, I'm excited to be. You know, it's funny. Yeah. You talk about gratitude and then giving back, and I think that you know it's funny. It's almost like air conditioning. You have an intake and an out, right? An exhaust. Yeah. You know, I never want to be that person that's always taking. Yeah. And today was an awesome opportunity. And you know, it's funny. It was not only the gratitude. You know, how grateful I was for over the years that you've always been like offering up an idea, point me in a direction, give me something, and always with no strings. I'm so excited to be one of your top sponsors for this event you have coming up.
You will be in this space, the top sponsor. Yeah. I've removed somebody else to put you in.
Yeah, and I love 100%. And I'm super appreciative of that. And I'm looking forward to you guys absolutely crushing it.
Yeah.
So
if I can talk about that. So Doc O'Connor is the lead sponsor in this space. We're having our first ever basketball camp at the Fabulous Fort on August 28th to September 1st, 2 sessions each day, 9 to 12 boys and girls. It's going to be 3rd through 8th grade. 1 to 4, it's going to be the high school kids, you know, boys and girls. The MVP of both the boys and the girls league gets an NIL deal.
Awesome.
Right? The high school kids. So that's going to be part of it. We have Randy Foy's our partner, who's the CEO of Epic Elite. Eric Youngkowski, who's the former coach of Middletown North, but also played and coached under Danny Hurley. He's the COO of Epic Elite. So that's who's running the camps. We'll be there. Our players that had fabulous years, 5 of them are going to get NIL deals from us. They're going to be there to coach the kids. Awesome. And it's like, you know, we're looking to build out the Epic movement, grassroots. And Doc O'Connor is the lead sponsor for that, which means in anything that I do, I always want to provide more value than I give. Because in any business you want to do, you want to give more value. If you do that, there won't be a client or a customer. There'll be raving fans to your business. So that's the whole key to the success that we've had. And I had asked John this morning because Tony Robbins said it best. Tony talked about like if there's certain people that don't understand or don't use language and words the right way, that try and I'll use the word close, he won't do business with them. But if he likes and loves somebody, he'll teach them on how to get them to do business with him. So my conversation with John, as he was fixing my knee, because I decided to run a sprint the other day, we were laughing because I hadn't been there in about 2 months. I've been ducking him like a prize fighter, not wanting to fight. So I've been hiding from Doc. And anyway, he let me come in. He gave me every chance where I couldn't say no anymore. He even let me come in real early. So, and Matt, my man Matt was there. Yep. So he came in and I was like, dude, I want you to be the sponsor. I want you to be. So we were going back and forth. We had a private conversation about it. Then he understood why. And it was about serving the kids.
Absolutely.
And how it's going to be able to allow him another footprint that doesn't exist right now, which allows me another footprint that doesn't. That's what emergent ecosystems is. He has a community. I have a community. How do we take both of our skill sets to serve the community?
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. And that's what happened today. So that was awesome.
It's funny, when I sat down for lunch today, I had time to kind of review my morning and my thoughts. And I love taking notes and kind of journaling. And I was kind of just sitting there and thinking about it. During COVID, I took that injury, and being an on-court trainer, there's so many of my athletes that I've been out with and got reps with, that today was the first time that I'll be around anything basketball related, really, since COVID. And I was so when I was like, you know what? I always wanted to say I'm going to hang my shoes up and I'll retire as a trainer on my terms.
Yeah.
Right. But then listening to all these influencers and these amazing businessmen that are on the, in the podcast space and in communicating these messages, what I realized is, like, now, as you say, creating these relationships is the power of my voice, the power of my stories. Instead of being, doctor trainer blowing reps up with them, is saying, hey guys, this is what I would tell you to do. I don't do that anymore. It's not part of my everyday stuff. But I gotta tell you, if you want to be great, you got to do this, this, and that. So,
and are you kind to people?
Always.
That's what you said. You're kind to people.
Always
you go
lead
out
with
of your way,
kindness.
do you open up a door for people?
100%.
This is when you're talking to your kids. I'm saying like that kind of stuff is even more important.
I think people are blown away that, and I'd say you are amazing with, extending out our services and making intros on group text. Or what I love the best is when you send me the live video, and I'm sure all the guys here get them. And
it's a powerful tool.
Without a doubt.
The video is so much better than the text.
I'm listening and watching at that point when I'm like, oh, I got a picture. I got to pay attention here.
Yeah.
And, but I'll tell you is, you can see the appreciation and gratitude that you're reaching out to, you're like, as I could say, you've kind of laid out the groundwork. You're like, this is the owner of the practice. And literally I'll come right back immediately if I'm near my phone, which is usually like you, it's attached to my hands.
Yep.
And I have to say, when I meet those people, it is a very special feeling to say and call you a friend, because they are so thankful for what Epic Elite provides to them, what you provide for them, and what we get to give them in service.
Exactly.
And, that servitude is...
Because we didn't have that.
No, we didn't have that.
And to give that to somebody else?
Without a doubt. I mean, I know your parents did the same thing, and they did as much as they could for you. But the reality is there was limits, right? And when you have somebody, and whether it's for them, we in business would probably call it angel investor. For them, they would just kind of refer to it almost like an angel, like a person's coming in and they're helping, because they don't see whatever our alternative motives, if there is one or not. They just see there's this amazing person that's offering to help me.
There is, and what you do for them is phenomenal. But I got to tell you, they sacrifice their bodies and time for Epic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't care whatever the platform that I create. They sacrificed physically time away from whatever they normally do to come play for Epic, and they didn't even know me. Like, they put Epic on. I didn't do it.
Yeah,
they did it.
Agreed.
They did it. So if their bodies got worn down, it's my responsibility to not ignore that.
Yeah, to patch them up.
And to be able to help out in any way I can. I couldn't think of anyone better than you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I will say this, and as we're getting close to the end of the show, one of the most amazing things, and I think it's where we're at in 2023, the ability of your social media team and your vision, the same thing, and you've inspired me, you've pushed me to raise the bar, keep going. And it's the same way that I'm like, you know what? If it was training, if it was my clinic, if it was my space, average is the enemy.
Yes.
Right?
It's terrible.
And
it's terrible.
I would look at it and attack it, right?
It's terrible.
And I can't be nice to it. It offends me.
No, it's bad.
And
you can't coddle it.
And
don't even be politically correct with it.
You can't.
It's terrible.
You literally got to be like, that sucked.
No,
right?
yeah, it's bad.
But what I will tell you is your social media team puts those kids out there. And I say this all the time. I've seen some amazing players, and I'm like, oh, what happened? Oh, an ACL, this and that. These kids will look back at these videos and be like, oh, remember when I broke that guy's ankles, this and that? And it's creating for them that Disney experience, or for if you're baseball and you're playing kids, it's Cooperstown.
Yep.
Right. If it's hockey, it's a bean pot, or whatever that thing's called up in New England, or this crazy hockey tournament my sister would go to. Or now with you, what you're doing, I mean, I see these children when I see them, and they're young men and not women yet, but I'm sure that's coming.
Yeah.
I do. And but the reality is that is something that has such amazing value beyond our financial reward, because it's those products that are genuine and sincere.
Yeah.
And that authenticity creates a value beyond money.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for that, and thank you for creating it.
Bro, thank you for that. Thank you for the acknowledgement. If you don't mind, I want to share a quick story.
Go ahead.
If it's okay. I had them in front of 200 business owners about a month ago. And because that's when I'm starting to, I'm talking about the NIL and the collective and everything. And the thing that stood out the most for me, because I think this gets overlooked more than anything else, is the fact that these are human beings.
100%.
And they're intelligent. Like these kids that play for us, they are
They're
so smart in ways that adults because they see everything.
Oh, without doubt.
They don't trust anybody.
Yes.
Because of the sheer nature of exactly what all that was, right? So it was amazing to watch all these business owners come up to these kids and like start asking them questions, and they were answering the questions. To your point about the power of a video, though. So if anyone knows Epic, knows that I create a lot of disruption with the videos early on. So finally we go to Hoop Group in June, and I didn't know it was a setup, but it was a setup, right? So the two top New Jersey teams, Jersey Force, and Mike Rice was coaching, his best team, right? And we had the French kids, and we didn't have any practice time, but they beat us. Both teams beat us. The second game, it got to the point where it was a little bit hostile.
Got a little ugly.
And I had to say to the coach who was saying,
take it down.
You're saying some silly things. I said, listen, I could have your whole team. By the time you go to your car, they could all be an Epic Elite. So just calm down.
Could be a third team. Go easy.
I don't want to take away your lifestyle. So I'm giving you a pass because I appreciate your passion. But the point is, so Mike, him and I kind of bucked heads. We kind of locked horns afterwards. But the thing that stood out the most is our highlight reel makes it look like we blew both teams out.
Yes.
So I am constantly putting out the videos of those two games.
Yes.
Where it's highlighting my kids, though.
100%.
Against good kids on the other side.
100%.
And unless you have the whole game. And that's why if you're with an AAU team and your coach or your owner isn't promoting you, they're not putting you in a place to prosper. And if you're getting secret money, just call me. We'll figure it out to see if you fit our profile, our character, because we are looking for high character kids that understand the importance of leverage, liquidity, and control. But with that being said, I think that the AAU world is something that I want to put my flag down in to be able to help all these kids in a way that nobody else has.
Like a level of integrity.
Disrupt with integrity. Every little kid in the Rumson, Fairhaven area is going to be wearing that shirt next week.
Love it. Love it.
Disrupt with integrity.
With the Velocity logo on the back.
Yes. Lead sponsor.
I will say, Coach E loves who makes.
Oh yeah, bro. Listen, let me tell you something. I don't. The economic value that I must have, which by the way, that I'm doing God's work right now.
Oh,
right?
without a doubt.
It comes back in aces universally. But the truth, first of all, I love John. Let me be very clear. I love his staff. I love how they treat me. I don't want to see anybody else. But I also love these shirts. These shirts are like, because I'm above my fighting weight. So these shirts make me look a little bit thinner than I am. So that's why I like these so much.
So to that point, it was funny. I was at Garmani the other day, and Janelle.
I can't even shop there no more.
Wait,
I said you should hire a fucking trainer to make me lose weight because I'll spend $30,000 and buy a bunch of suits.
So he laughed. He goes, "I can't get him out of your shirt." So
it's true.
Anyway, guys, today's show.
See, the fact that they're talking about me and that means social media works. But
100%. Anyway, guys. I want to say this. First off,
Thanks,
my
John.
man, absolute pleasure,
Yes.
honor to speak with you today.
Awesome.
Guys, thank you so much. Again, the opportunity to be out here with Tough Love, myself and my amazing guests.
Love that name.
Yeah, it's absolutely, we are always going to address tough topics. We're going to have a little emotion, a little high, and anything it's like talking about a game, right? Basketball is a game of runs, just like life. And you got to be able to beat the press. You got to be able to, take it when, you're in an opposing gym, it's hostile and you get dunked on. This is what life's about. This is what sports teaches, life teaches you. Every week, we're going to try to bring episodes that are just relevant to how to, have, routines and rituals that just build you up and just make you a better person, make you be able to be, like you said, the arduous journey is the better way.
Yeah.
You know, that easy path is not something you're going to remember or be impressed by when you get to that end of the road. You want to look back and say, you know what, I worked damn hard for everything I got. I brought people with me. I did it with integrity.
Yeah.
And what I created was with purpose and intention, and I did great things. So guys, thank you for joining us today. Follow us on our podcast at Dr. John O'Connor. We'll be up on Spotify and all the social platforms. I look forward to seeing you guys. And Rob, thank you again so much.
Yeah, and John, let me say something. Anyone that's watching, that's local, they should come see you for, and I mean this, for at least a check-in or a free look under the hood, because it's not only him, but it's his staff. And more importantly, though, the innovative and the quality of anticipation and new product stuff that comes out. He's always ahead of what's going on right now. He's always in different. He's going to Vegas all the time. He goes. I think he's going down to Florida
this weekend. Yeah.
So to have someone that's at the front line of all the new devices for your health, because that's the most important thing. I'm telling, just go check it out one time just to see if it's for you. He won't let you down, and I promise you, what he's done for me, my family. I mean, my son had his finger that time, and what you did in the gym that day was amazing. It's something I would recommend anybody go see.
I appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
So guys, anyway, look forward to having Rob back on the show again when he launches his next thing. And again, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Take care.